What miserable weather. Which is why I think it's a good time to have a look at what's in that blue box. Yes, as you might be able to tell from the title of this video, I thought I would try something different. And that is primarily to celebrate reaching 300 subscribers, which I'm immensely grateful for. Well, I don't know if the word is grateful or thankful, but anyway, so this is what we're going to be having a look at today. This is a model by Heljan, who I believe are a Danish company. Yes, they do like plastering their logo all over this packaging. Yes, I've got the camera on autofocus at the moment, but I might have to switch it to manual. Yeah, there's just your typical warnings that you would expect to see on a product these days, and this is the product information. Yes, this was a yes, as you can tell, we're going to be looking at quite an interesting locomotive, to say the least. This was a Hatton's job, by the way, which is this sort of tag is what they put on there for their. The PO stands for pre-owned, which is Hatton's way of saying second-hand. Anyway, I'll stop beating. Might as well stop beating about the bush and get this thing out of the packaging. Yes, well, first impressions are when you open the box is that it's certainly quite a quality box, to say the least. It's made from this very high quality cardboard, which I can't imagine would break anytime soon, so I'll put that to one side. Silly thing. Anyway, so once you take off the outer layer, you get this foam, and then you get this. Still set to manual autofocus. Yeah, so as you can tell, this is the little thing that Heljan included to prove that this is a limited edition model. And as you can see, I've got 1281. Although to be perfectly honest, that looks more like either a 7 or a Z. But anyway, I remember there was a steam locomotive with the number 1281. Yeah, I don't get that image there. Must be like the sort of thing you would expect to see on a stamp. Anyway, so this is the the parts list. So I guess if you lose any of the engine's parts, you can perhaps order some. Although I don't know if you would still be able to get them brand new, because the model was made all the way back in 2009. So yeah, probably wouldn't have much chance of getting brand new spare parts. I don't even know if Heljan. Yeah, I don't know if Heljan still supply them. Anyway, here is the. This is to do with, I guess, to do with maintenance, and on this side is that weird picture again. And then here is the history of the locomotive. Let's see if I can get that unshot properly. So yeah, feel free to pause and read that if you would like to. But with that out of the way, let's get to the actual model. Yes, trying to work from behind the camera is rather difficult. As you can tell, she's wrapped in this interesting, I wouldn't say, it's sort of a very thin layer of foam, which I think is actually quite a nice material. Obviously it's just to do with the packaging, as it were. And there she is. The HS4000 Kestrel. Yes, there's a jump cut just then, mainly because I was trying to think of what else to say, and then thought I might as well just start recording another part of the video. But apologies if you can hear that screaming. That's just some kids mucking around in the park, which isn't too far from me. Well, as a matter of fact, my house is right in front of a flipping playground, which is often visited by kids and other families. But anyway, so my first impressions are that, well, this isn't the first time I've had about the packaging. I have run her, of course. I think I uploaded a video of her running on the day I bought the engine. But anyway, yeah, so one thing that certainly does it, the thing that does it for me, I reckon, is, I'd say, is the livery. Try to get it to stay in focus. Yes, as you can, this part where it says 1N06, that I believe is the head code box. And I think according to the information supplied with this model, I think 1N06 was like a London King's Cross to Newcastle service. And at the other end you've got 1A32. Yes, I probably should explain that my arm is struggling to hold this thing up, because this is probably the second heaviest model in my collection. I've weighed it, and this one weighs in at 592 grams. The only one that's heavier is the Class 128, which is 634. I feel I should mention that that green thing in the background, that is my Class 15. Well, Class 15 model, of course, which I think I've uploaded a video of that running as well. But anyway, is it in focus? Yes, I'm having to adjust the focus manually, which is a little bit tedious. But anyway, I should probably shut my gob and talk about the detail properly. So as you can tell, the first thing, and probably the most distinctive feature of this locomotive, was this livery. And yes, as a matter of fact, she did carry this livery in real life. I've heard it being described as sort of a yellow ochre, although to me it just looks more like gold. I think I've got a book somewhere. Ah, here it is. Yeah, and that was a pair of plates falling over. Never mind that, we'll just press on. So I do actually one of my books does actually have this locomotive on the front, the real Kestrel on the front cover. And this is it. Yeah, so as you can tell, the model is very much like the real thing. Mind you, I suppose it has to be if people are going to take it seriously. Yes, of course, one thing I quite like about this model is that it might not be all that easy to see, but yeah, you've actually got metal handrails. Normally I think that, well, the ones on the Class 15, which is currently out of focus, is certainly plastic, and they do in fact look a little bit naff compared to Kestrel's handrails. But as you can see, there's the number, HS4000. The HS standing for Hawker Siddeley, which is the company, and their logo is right there. They were the company that built this locomotive, all the way back in 1967, might I add, when my dad was only 4 years old. The 4000, on the other hand, represents the locomotive's horsepower, which was 4,000 horsepower, which back in 1967 or 68, that was actually quite impressive, considering this locomotive had just one engine. As you can tell, we've got reasonably impressive detailing or moulded detail on the roof. I don't get why it's that's not really white, is it? It's sort of an off-white. But anyway, you do have what appear to be very well moulded fans, curiously at both ends, which is a little bit strange, because you would think that with just one engine they would only need fans at one end. I mean, that's like what the Class 50s, well, certainly the Class 15, that's got a fan at one end. Yeah, so going around to the front, you've also got quite a bit of detail here, like the pipe working as it were, and you've also got like a tiny little a chain link coupler, well, coupling I should say. If I was talking about an American locomotive, I would probably use the word coupler. Yes, at this end, the buffer beam is actually loose, which I think you can remove it and put in a spare buffer beam that doesn't have any of those details whatsoever, which would be useful for hauling rolling stock. It's one thing I've heard about Heljan models, is that they do like to pre-fit all this buffer beam detail, which in some cases is good for the really serious people that only really care about realism. But, and this is a big but, to quote Michael Rosen, it is annoying for trying to run on the layout, because the coupling, the part here that goes, you can see it there, it's where my thumb is. that, well, on my class 128 at least, it clashes with the detail on the buffer beam and can very easily lead to a derailment. Yeah, so another detail I quite like is the fact that they have the proper separately fitted windscreen wipers at both ends, might I add, and then you also got the horns. So let me just check the picture of the real Kestrel if I can find that book again. There it is. Yep, the position of the horns is correct. Anyway, annoyingly, this camera only seems to be able to record for a maximum of 5 minutes at a time, so I'll have to stop the recording again and restart it. Yes, I've decided to turn around and go around to my bed, because when I was looking at the engine on the floor, I had to crouch and my legs were aching, and to an extent they still are. Anyway, what else is there to talk about detail-wise? Well, as you can see, you've got the locomotive's name written there, which is obviously Kestrel. And they're actually, fun fact, there actually used to be, well, I think there still is, like some sort of steamboat also named Kestrel. I remember it used to be on display, well, moored, which is a boating term for parked, down on the Strand, which is like a part of downtown Tauranga, where there's like the railway goes through, and then you've got like a playground, and then the water, and obviously the Kestrel steamboat was on the water. Unfortunately, that boat is now cleared off to Auckland, so yeah, it's just about nothing exciting left in Tauranga. Anyway, it's one thing I'm a bit puzzled about is the fact that, I mean, you've got this all off-white roof, and then you've got these 6 black rectangles. See, obviously 3 on each side. I assume this part where I'm pointing to, I assume that would be where the exhaust would come out on the real engine, but obviously it doesn't on the model because this is powered by electricity. Well, sorry, diesel. Well, the model is powered by electricity, but the real thing was essentially powered by diesel, but moved thanks to electricity. Also, I just noticed it's probably too small. Is that focusing properly? Yeah, well, of course I'm still using manual focus, so yeah, I'm really not doing a good job here. Mind you, this is my first attempt at a review, so, well, might as well cut me some slack. But anyway, you might not be able to tell, but there is actually a small indentation into the, well, recession into the door, which unfortunately doesn't open, where you've got, where the door handle would be, well, rather where the door handle is on the real thing. Just notice there's a mark next to the Hawke's Italy logo. And they've even done a tiny little bit of white paint for the door handle, which I quite like. The one thing I haven't mentioned is that this model looks, well, the Kestrel locomotive, obviously not the steamboat, at least I think Kestrel was also a steamboat. But one thing that's interesting about the, oh bugger, one thing that's interesting about Kestrel the locomotive is the fact that you've got these, like, really sort of fancy, sort of rounded or streamlined cab ends. I mean, it almost looks like it does sort of resemble a Class 47, which I guess is to do with the fact that the 47s were also built by, well, were built by Brush Traction, which was a subsidiary of Hawke's Italy. Although I think the first 47s were built about, what, 6 or so years before Kestrel. Yeah, well, there's probably not much else to talk about detail-wise. This isn't so much a review, it's more just a quick, more in-depth look, if you will. Of course, these are the tail lights, and below that you've even got more of those little metal handrails, and above the head coat box you've got another metal handrail, which I find quite impressive, because when it does make me, it's quite impressive how they're able to get the metal down to such a small piece and still able to shape it into what it's supposed to be. Yes, anyway, I'll just stop and restart the recording again one more time, and then perhaps go and run this thing. This must be like the third time I've tried recording this scene, and as soon as I start the third take, I can hear another plane going overhead. Yes, I do find that quite annoying, but hopefully you should still be able to hear me. Anyway, so as you can tell, I've now put the Class 15 in the background. And waited not so patiently for the plane to go over. Yes, it's cleared off now. But anyway, yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to think. What was I going to say? I can't remember. Can't really remember what I was saying during the first time I tried it, or the second for that matter. But anyway, so yeah, that's right. Now I remember. So, as I was saying, I believe the Heljan Kestrel model was made around 2009. Well, it says that on the yeah, if I get the information of this little limited edition sheet, yeah, you can see it says developed. Yeah, it says developed in 2009. And yeah, they only made about 4,000 copies of that model, which I guess makes sense because, as you can tell, the number is HS4000. But anyway, and of course that's the thing. This, as I mentioned at the start of the video, this was well, it was a Hatton's job from their pre-owned section, which is what they call second-hand. Because that is the only way you can get a Heljan Kestrel anymore, because obviously they only made, it was a limited edition, only 4,000 of them were ever made, so they're sort of quite a collectible these days. But well, now I'm just not sure whether or not I should disclose how much I paid for this engine, although I suppose Sam's Trains has done it before, and so yeah, I guess I might as well. Yeah, this was, as you might expect with being a model locomotive, this was not a cheap model, which I guess makes sense because usually these bigger models are quite relatively expensive. This was 221 New Zealand dollars, or 113 British pounds. The Class 15 over there, that was I think that was $174. Yeah, model railways are not a cheap thing to get interested in. Well, provided I should probably write a script for these things. That way I don't stumble over my words while I'm trying to record. Yeah, but anyway, I honestly think the amount I paid for this makes sense, because this is the one model that I truly wanted. Like, this is quite a rare thing, and yeah, it's just really nice to have a Heljan Kestrel. But of course, one thing I forgot to mention is that the buffers, if I can focus it properly, yeah, there we go. One thing I forgot to mention is that the buffers are sprung, which is always a good thing. I believe the class. Hold on, yeah, I'll just check to see if the 15 has sprung buffers. Yeah, she does. Anyway, I think it's about time I took Kestrel. I think it's about time I took Kestrel to the layout in the garage and show you a clip of her running. So I guess I'll get to that now. Right, so here we are on the layout, and I didn't notice this until just now. Dad's ripped up one of the points, which has kind of disrupted plans. Right here, this is the Hornby Class 153, which I've shown in a previous video. I'll explore the channel and find it. Anyway, back to Kestrel. I'm not going to do what for the purposes of this video. I'm not going to go around the whole layout because, well, I've wasted enough of your time as it is. I probably shouldn't waste any more. Yeah, so actually that's quite a nice angle on the engine. Anyway, got the controller wired up. That should be good to go. So, not sure what direction the set is set to. So I guess we'll just have to see. Ah, well, there's your answer. Just making sure it's on the track properly, and now we'll send her back. There she goes. Yeah, so one thing about this engine that I quite like is the fact that she's got working lights. Because if she goes away from you, you'll see that, yeah, she's got the red tail lights. And if she comes towards you, you've got stupidly bright head code box lights. Now, in the other reviews I've seen of this model on YouTube, people have criticised the lights in the head code boxes for being too bright, and to be perfectly honest, I agree with them. I'm fairly certain that the head code boxes, the lights in the head code boxes on the real Kestrel would never have been as bright as that. But anyway, I'll just do a couple of runs. I'll just run it back and forth a couple of times, and then I think, we'll be done for today. Yes, apologies for the poor focus here. I do obviously still have to be doing adjusting the focus manually, which isn't that easy to do when you're trying to film something that's moving. Yes, but I do apologise for the, quite frankly, or for the very messy state of this garage, but I suppose that's normal these days. I suppose it's normal, and it's nothing I'm not used to, as it were. So we'll bring it back. That's one thing I like about this model, is that she's a very smooth runner, as is the... Is that something at the door? I'll just go, might as well just go and check. No, it was just my imagination. Yeah, so we'll just see how much further down Kestrel can go. Of course, I would like to have a layout where I can do like a full... Is she moving? Yes, I would like to do a layout where I can do like a full and continuous run. Like where I can have the engine going round and round in circles, because that would be useful for running the engines in, but unfortunately can't do that at the moment. Come on, Kestrel. Yeah, this wouldn't be the first time I've had to do this sort of thing. Yeah, so to summarise, I think the Heljan Kestrel is quite a nice model. I think if you're interested in this engine, I recommend going and looking for her and picking her up if you see her for a good price. Yeah, I'm not sure what else to say now, so yeah, well, I guess I'll just say thank you for watching my first attempt at looking at unboxing / reviewing a model locomotive. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you want to see more model reviews, then be sure to leave a like on this video, and thank you very much for watching, and once again thank you so much for 300 subscribers, and I'll see you in the next video. Ta-ra, folks.